In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how the Fast Excel development template can automatically create dynamic named ranges. The dynamic named range is one of the most powerful techniques in the Fast Excel development process. They'll help you instantly apply calculations to thousands of data rows all at the click of a button. You set the formula once and paste it in every row in a table. The live formula are then replaced with values because this is the best way to control error and promote stability and speed. In a planning and scheduling system, the input data is always going to be changing. This means that the size of the table that you import from the MRP system is also going to be changing. Dynamic named ranges allow you to perform calculations on the right data and only the right data. Here we have an order book that's imported as a text file. Every day, new orders are being entered into the MRP system. We want to have the formula paste all the way down to the last used row. The dynamic named range measures the imported data and applies the formula right the way to the bottom of the table. In the Fast Excel method, we teach you how to create dynamic named ranges using formulas. It uses the offset function and allows you to create a range with flexible size and shape. This is the best way to learn, but if you have to create a lot of dynamic named ranges, typing out all those formula can be tiresome and repetitive. Fortunately, we've written macros that automate the creation of these names. This saves a lot of time and reduces the chance of error. You don't need to know much about macros to use the Create Names macro. You don't even need to know how the formula works. We do recommend that you learn about dynamic named range formula, and there's a tutorial in our e-learning section to help you. However, to use this template, you can use the automatic method and get going at the click of a button. A range is any collection of cells. We use ranges a lot in Visual Basic, but if you're not familiar with VBA, ranges are just a collection of cells, usually continuous and very often in a rectangular block. The range is usually defined by the top left corner and the bottom right corner like this. In Excel, a name is given to a range, a formula, or a constant. When you use names, you can easily remember the meaning of a collection of cells. If we just save a cell range using the top left and bottom right cell, it is a static range. If the shape and size of the data changes, then the name no longer points to the correct cell range. Here, we created a static named range and refreshed the data. You can see that using this method is going to lead to problems. If we're building a live planning and scheduling system, this method is not going to work. Dynamic named ranges stretch and contract with the data to make sure that you're always going to be referencing the right cells. Here, we will write our formulas in row 8. The macro will always create the formula range in the first non-blank cell in row 8. It will clear old results and paste fresh results below the formula range in rows 11 and below. All ranges will stretch to fit any new formula that have been added. This means that you can create names once and build out the sheet. The paste down macro will always be up to date. When you build planning and scheduling systems in Excel, you'll commonly use 4 types of names. Formulas, where you set the calculations, clear, to remove old records, and results for the fresh calculations that will be pasted on top. Table is used to reference the whole table of data. Another useful set of names are the data and column names. When you build a system, you'll need to refer to a column of data from another sheet. The easiest way to do this is to create a name for the column. You can use a quick key. Control-Shift will give you the name for the column or columns that you've selected. As before, this is dynamic right to the bottom of the data. The name has automatically been created to match the heading and reference the whole column to the last used row. Control-Shift-D gives you a data range that begins at the top of the data rather than the top of the column. This is useful for sort, sum, count calculations that will only be applied to the data and not to the headings. You'll want to stick to the convention of using row 8 for formulas because the create names macro won't work otherwise. Remember, it looks for the first non-blank cell in row 8. There will be no need to change the formula row for any of the systems that we're going to teach you to build with Fast Excel. So it's better to follow the convention and use row 8 for all formula. Also, make sure that row 7 is left free for indicators that will create formula and result ranges for multiple paste down operations. This will let you paste down a first set of formula and then sort the results and paste down a second set. This is covered more in the next tutorial on the query template. For now, just be aware that anything in rows 7 and 8 are going to affect the way that names are created. If dynamic name ranges are not working properly, this is the first thing that you should check. So let's run through a typical use of the create names macro. We copy the query template and rename it for the new data table import. Import the data. In this example, we're going to use tab delimited text files. Set the correct format for the imported data. Text for anything that can't be measured, and that includes codes, IDs, and strings. In data range properties, you'll uncheck the prompt for file name on refresh and adjust column width options. There's also an option to paste down formula in columns adjacent to the imported data. This could be used as an alternative to paste down macros and dynamic named ranges. However, it would involve leaving live formula in every row, which will cause you problems with error, file stability, and calculating speed. So we'll leave this option unchecked. Now the data is imported. We're going to add a description for each of the item codes in the routing table. The description is going to use index match. Index match will pull it from the item master table and use the column names to be able to find the information without swapping sheets. This will help your application of index match in joining tables and bringing values from one table to another quickly and easily. Create the names, update to apply them, and paste values against all of the routing records. Control-Shift-C for a new column name. Control-Shift-D for a new data name. After following this tutorial, you'll be able to use the Create Names macro to get going quickly and build out calculations without manually entering all of those names.